Do
and
not give me another benzo if my seizure doesn't stop. Call the hospital.
yeah, call 911,
They,
you
Yeah.
know, call
the
the
most,
SPCA. I don't know,
yeah, the
Mhm.
most my husband has been allowed to give me was two of the nasal sprays and two benzos. But frankly, if I wasn't coming out after that, after even two nasals, and my doctor freaked
right,
out that he gave me that much. He was like,
right,
don't ever
right,
do that. Take her to
right.
the
And it's
hospital at this
like,
point.
then why are they telling my daughter to wait until I'm unresponsive for
5 minutes is too
minutes?
long.
I'm
Five
like,
minutes is
that
where they
is
start freaking
static.
out.
That
Sorry.
is static
Exactly.
wait,
Yeah. You're
so
already
I'm like, okay, so wait until I go into status epilepticus, and then maybe after I stop breathing, the Nazilium will work.
But
And
that's not.
I've been doing this for too long for doctors to say stuff like that to me and not get a little pushback.
But that's kind of
Hmm.
why I trust all these anecdotes and things so much more, because it's like your intuition says, I don't feel right after, like three minutes is a long time
Yeah,
already. 5 minutes is
That's
has
supposed to
got
be
to
the maximum.
be
Five is
damaging.
like the ones where they start flipping out.
yeah.
Yes.
It shouldn't get to 5 minutes.
No,
Right.
no,
That's what
exactly.
exactly, and that's our rule. The first couple minutes we'll try the CBD. If it doesn't help, it doesn't get me talking again, she'll get the Nazilium.
Yeah.
Mm.
But oh my
yeah.
god, tongue is so swollen. Sorry guys, I had to get stitches again, and
Oh, that's
yeah,
annoying.
yeah, I had to see a doctor I've never seen before, and I hate
I
that.
was scared about the infection. I was thinking, how could I not, how can I even have like a smoothie or something and not get somewhat an infection? I was,
Right,
I was considering just like
bacteria, right?
fermenting
It's like
everything and having like vinegar or some kind of disinfectant after I got stitches.
peroxide in the mouth.
In your mouth.
Yeah,
Uh,
it works. But yeah, this whole, and it's not my normal side, so I know I'm going bilateral, but it's the other side, and the whole side of my tongue is like kind of hanging off.
Oh, I've been there. Mm.
And then they ask me, well, what makes you think you had a seizure? Oh, I don't know.
History. How about that? How about a history? My
But you
history.
were just diagnosed next July. Oh, I didn't tell you guys. I go to have a surgeon look at my neck because I have a neck fusion. I blew out the discs, blah, 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 above and below it.
Hmm.
I had to get notes together, and I pull up the notes for the visit with this pain management doctor who's telling me, well, yes, I looked at the MRI, blah, blah, blah. He looked at an MRI from July of 2022. And I told him that I just had one done a few weeks ago. And while I was there, he's like, I'm looking at your most recent. Is it 2025? Yes, it is. I looked at it. No, it isn't. July 2025 hasn't happened yet.
July. What the heck?
I had to check my calendar.
What the hell? I'm sorry. Excuse my language.
So I decided to call some of my friends in Buffalo who have friends in Rochester. And I have people that are volunteering to take me to my doctor's appointments that are part of an organization called Bikers Against Child Abuse.
Okay.
And you
Good.
piss them off, there's no going back.
Mm.
Okay. I gave up on the case manager. I called my bikers. There's no going back when you screw up there. And it's just, I'm like, wait, that was July 2022. I fell in May of 2023 and again in February 2024. Why are you looking at something from 2022?
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, oh God. I just realized that happened. Last night I'm going through notes and emails. It's like, can you send me this? And I'm like, oh shit.
Mm.
Something's not right here.
Right. That's wrong.
Whoops.
How do they do that? Oh god.
Well, they're not doing it again. That's all I know. They're not doing it again.
Which computer screwed this one up?
It was the highly trained anesthesiologist for a pain management center who told me I was in too much pain for pain management. It wasn't the computer, it was the one operating. So
Okay.
With the
that's what we're
anesthesiologist.
saying. It's like, wait.
My sister can't even take that. Any
No,
type of anesthesia.
So I have something that says, I'm coming off my medicine on my own.
Whoa,
Nope.
that's a no-no.
My
Nope.
doctor says he doesn't suggest it, but whatever I do is on me. I'm on Lamictal, extended release, 500 milligrams, 2 pills, 250 milligrams. The soonest I can come off my med, if I waited, would be mid-February. So this is 6 months ago. I'm not waiting that long to get an appointment to ask if I could come off my medication. Would it be best to cut a pill in half and take 1.5 a day? Or is there a better way?
Listen to your doctor.
Mm-hmm.
There
If
is
he's
no
watching,
better way.
I don't suggest any of that.
Right.
Nah, the
I'm
extended
only
release ones
that's it.
coming off of the extended release was worse for me because but mine was a capsule, mine wasn't a tablet, so I couldn't really split it. So maybe
Yeah.
it was like a quicker de-escalation, but I know coming off of the extended release ones were always worse.
But generally,
If you're
some of these
having-
things you don't want to cut them in half because that totally overrides the extended releaseness of it.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean. Aren't they all
Right?
capsules because
You're right.
you know for that purpose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think there were tablets that were extended release.
I don't know, but even if they
If
were,
you're
they'd have
having
a
like,
coating or something on them that would release it slowly. Thus, you'd be overriding it or whatever by cutting it. I don't know.
symptoms,
But it seems like they must have already done what they was gonna do, huh?
Right, whatever they were going to do is
go
already
straight
done.
to the
This was
emergency
6 months ago.
room.
He said he didn't want to wait till February to go to the doctor. So this was 6 months ago. Yeah, he's already went to the appointment, either had the seizures or didn't have them or split the pills or however. Yeah, that's happened so far.
Ugh. Did they come back and
I
say
think it's go
anything?
straight to the
about how that
emergency
went?
room.
No, he didn't
And
come
let
back and
them
say
see.
anything.
But
Anybody got any comments?
don't
I
I
don't
say
think
listen
that-
to the doctor, but if you're having like emergency symptoms, you got to go to the emergency room, because
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I missed that question. Was that the one coming off their medication or?
Yeah.
Dropping their own medication and their doctor said don't do it.
Yeah.
And then it was extended release tablets too. So
Yeah.
he's talking about cutting his extended release tablets.
No.
And we were discussing how that probably wasn't a good idea because it's extended release and you're destroying the outside of the pill when you do that.
Right. If it says do not cut, crush, or open, you have
Yeah, I
to.
see that a lot.
Yeah. But and
Yeah.
the thing is, when people do that, and I know I they're gonna do it even if you tell them not to.
Yeah.
They're gonna do it. And they'll say, well, I'm not having seizures anymore, so I don't need this. No, you're not having seizures because you're taking them.
Right.
And I see this in a lot of kids and, even up to like 30,
Yeah.
35 years old.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, I haven't had a seizure, so I'm not going to take this. And then they find themselves in the
having a
hospital,
seizure.
but the
All
other,
beat up and messed up. Yeah.
right. And then the other thing that not everybody considers is that shifts the liability from your doctor to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If anything happens to you,
Mm-hmm.
your doctor has absolutely nothing to do with that.
Right.
And
Because he said don't do that.
sometimes in New York State, Medicaid can refuse to pay for that hospital visit and emergency intervention.
Oh my.
If you want a $500,000 hospital bill in New York, quit taking your medication on your own. Because we just might say that was your fault, that was your choice, you were told otherwise, we're not going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, on a legal basis, people don't think about that. You know, go ahead and stop taking it. I can't tell you that, you know, it's going to do you any good, whether it's medically, legally, spiritually, emotionally, it will mess you up. And you might end up with a medical bill that exceeds your student loans, and they have more right to garnish your wages for that than for your student loans. So you got to think about those things, you know?
Yep.
And
Okay, guys, I just had an emergency diaper, but what were you guys saying about student loans?
Oh yeah, no, like if you stop taking your medication on your own,
yeah,
in some states, and I know this has happened, and New York has, but yeah, there are times that if you're like on Medicaid or even private insurance, your insurance may not pay for the emergency care that was required
Right.
after you voluntarily or abruptly stopped your medication.
right. If you
Oh,
didn't do
wow.
what your doctor told you to do. But what I was going to say too is my doctor, my epileptologist, made me write a letter and sign it to go back to work against his
Oh,
wishes.
Oh yeah.
And I
yeah,
had to
that's
do it
definitely something that they would do.
because I
Yeah.
went on California medical leave, right? And he's like, yes, I want you to go disability, but we'll do the California medical leave, see if we can get any kind of control here. And then, of course, it runs out, and I was supporting my family, so I went back.
Yeah.
Oh, that's rough.
And yeah, and I went back twice. I did it twice. I went on California medical leave twice. You know, of course, you can't do it right in a row. You have to, it's like a year in between, and I just have
Yeah.
seizures the whole
Yeah.
time, you know, but
I had to work 2 years and then go back. Yep. Same in New
yeah.
York. Yep.
And yeah, I had to write a big letter saying I was doing it against his will and against his wishes, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the same thing. But yeah, finally, I was like, okay, I want to work. I love my job. It's the best thing in the whole world, but I can't do it. So it's too dangerous, really. I could do
Your
it,
mind and your
but
body's not
well,
communicating.
it was I managed an ice cream shop and I decorated ice cream cakes. So if I go into a walk-in Sub-Zero freezer to get a 50-gallon tub of ice cream to bring out to put in the case, what if I have a seizure in there and fall over and crack my head on the concrete floor, and I am not going to wake up, and if nobody sees me, you know, I could
You're gonna freeze
actually
to death.
freeze to death besides having the seizure, right?
Oh.
Or let's say I have a seizure while I'm decorating a cake and I crack my head on that, you know, aluminum countertop, and then I fall backwards and crack it on the glass ice cream case behind me, and then I go sideways and crack it on the tile floor.
Oh yeah.
So many
You know, like,
corners.
They
and of
don't
course, my
want the
boss was
activity.
perfectly willing to do anything to keep me. He was so wonderful about it. Really, he really did. I could call in all the time. He was fantastic, but it wasn't safe. The only way it was even safe for me the last year was that we had a paramedic that worked there. And she was my friend, and she could look at me and go, "Oh no!" And she would drag me to the back and
Right.
make me take my pill, and she would talk to me until I was okay. And if I wasn't, she'd just call my husband and say, "Come get her." It's just she's not, you know.
Wow. So
And
she
my
really,
boss
really
was
was like
fabulous
part
about
of
it, but
your.
it wasn't safe. And when Maya left, I had to leave. It wasn't,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
you know,
Right
and that's the same
before
thing,
Similar
right?
problem.
I had to take
My
it off of
I
my
agree.
doctor and put it on me.
My coworkers are so kind and they love me, and so they're being really nice and understanding, and they're letting me, you know, take my part-time, and they're letting me, you know, do everything, you know, my weird, you know, like take weird, do weird hours and everything, like, because I have weird, weird, God, I keep forgetting words. I have doctor's appointments all the time, so like I keep changing my hours all the time. But it's just like,
My wife
even though
tired of
my
that.
coworkers love me, they're uncomfortable. Even if they don't recognize that they're uncomfortable, I can tell that they are. And
Yeah.
my boss is just accepting and changing my he's just changing things, like I work at a company that does um uh uh God, I don't understand why I'm so bad with words
You're
lately,
not.
and
You're
You're
not.
not. You're not.
You are just as
it's
you're functioning
making me
just as well
worry
as
that
the
my
rest of us.
brain is really, that there's something wrong, like
Reese,
more so than usual.
there's nothing wrong. There's
Well,
nothing
we're looking
wrong.
out.
We got
We're
you.
looking
Take
out.
a deep
If you
breath.
do go sideways, is there anybody around and you have the volume turned up loud enough that we could scream out for somebody?
Yeah, where's your wife?
No, my I have to. I'm gonna go get my wife in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
I had
I'm
arguments with my wife and I forgot things, and it's just like I couldn't even say the word belittle. And I had to throw her the phone to show her how I was belittling myself because she was accusing me of like talking about her.
Mm.
but anyway, okay. I'm trying.
Okay.
I work at a company that does fundraising for um public media, and uh I do copy editing. That's what I started with, but slowly, as I worked for longer, I started doing a little bit of writing also. And after I had this whole surgery problem and everything, and finally got back, see, and got to come back to work, every single thing I did, everyone looked at super closely and was kind of like waiting for me to do something wrong, almost. So like,
Micromanaging.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like,
That's definitely how it is when you have customers involved.
yeah. So our main writer would do things wrong all the time. Like he would forget things, he would, you know, get things, he gets things stacked, you know, he gets things,
Just like not proofread. Looking like
yeah,
there were
he
obvious
gets
mistakes.
things worked up and backed up. He gets confused about things. He gets, you know, he doesn't know what's going on. He just doesn't know what's going on all the time, and he gets confused about things, and he does things out of order, and he doesn't do things on time, and he's just a mess. And so people just know that he's a mess. Meanwhile, I come back from this terrible surgery and I miss like 2 emails and take a little bit longer than I used to. And I find out that multiple people went to my boss and reported that I made mistakes with the emails that I missed and stuff. Because I used to not make mistakes. I used to always be right, you know, up on on point with everything. And so it's just like we have to be perfect. And
What happened to that compassion? What happened to
yeah,
everybody, acting like they had your back at the beginning? And then it's
it's
like you
just,
don't really follow through. That's
Yeah.
that's not genuine,
They get tired. That's what it
you
is.
know?
it's just so
Talk
frustrating.
the talk, but you know,
Right.
definitely don't walk the walk. I got your back. I'll be here. Let me know if you need anything, and that's where it ends at words.
I
Yeah.
just don't I just don't know what to do with it, you know? And then everyone says like, "Oh yeah, we're so worried about you, you know, we're so
Yeah.
compassionate, we care about you, we're your friends, all this stuff." But like they actually don't. They're actually so, you know, I can't think of a word, but like, you know, they're
Yeah.
actually
Just the
so
Superficial.
opposite of that. Yeah.
exactly.
That's a good one.
They're
It's
Just fake.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that word.
Yeah. Well, on the bright side, though, I mean, I know it does not feel like there's a bright side right now, but I know when I had to get disability, it's been a long time since I looked at those files, but I was surprised to see write-ups, corrections, things, things similar to that complaint from the job showing that I wasn't I wasn't performing the job that I used to. It
Mm-hmm.
was a commission-based thing, and, it was easy to see my numbers weren't the same as they were in months previous, but I don't know how much the lawyer had to get to prove that I couldn't do, taking calls and basically thinking to have a conversation, because that post-ictal time and everything else, the absence ones, the booths, the people around me might not even see that I'm having a seizure, but then somebody calls back saying I was just giving this girl my credit card number and she went silent, but
Right.
the line didn't go dead. So, you know, now that's identity theft. You're not legit. I'm not going to go through with this because obviously you're a scam. And it was stuff like that I think actually did provide some benefit maybe to getting the disability. I mean, Reese, have you and your wife talked about that?
No. Eh,
I figured disability was more of a federal thing than a state thing. So I
It is. Well,
you know, obviously,
I mean,
I mean, there are federal laws, I'm sure, but I don't know how long it takes from state to state, if that's even different. You know, some
Yeah,
states have more regulations
I
even than
think
the
it's
federal
different from
ones.
state to state, but
yeah.
they keep wanting to push the bars back.
yeah.
On just like the
Yeah.
percentage of your income that would even count towards your check. I mean, in Florida, it's basically like when you go on unemployment, they give you 70%, I think, of your base pay, not counting commission, not counting overtime, not counting your actual income. They only give you like 70% of like bare minimum of what you could have made. And I think that's the same kind of calculator that you know, that work comp and disability uses too. So I mean, I obviously nothing to stress you out even more, but just, you know, maybe having, you know, something, I don't want to call it a goal, but, you know, having some kind of plan B did help when, or does still help when I feel like if I can't meet this goal of, you know, being able to start the garden and get the family like more self-sufficient when we leave Florida, if something goes like disastrously wrong, and, you know, I can't like go collect the eggs from the chicken coop in the morning, like, can I have a plan B? So
Yeah.
maybe that plan B could just be like start getting a consultation, especially because some uh, those kind of lawyers I think are more likely to offer free consultations than others. So even just maybe getting that reassurance could be just that, some reassurance for you.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
And I think they actually got the case started before I had to leave the job. And I don't have records of all that, but like I said, I think from my best understanding is that it was pretty much like a family intervention of like, no, you're not driving, you're not letting this happen again. If the ambulance goes to get you one more time, it's, you know, it was too much stress on my family.
Right. Yeah, I didn't want to go for the disability. I didn't want to admit I couldn't go back because, like I said, I loved my job. I loved everything
Yeah,
about it. It was great, but it
they
wasn't
had security.
when you have to admit that it's not safe. And that's, you know, not even maybe about you so much as it is about your family, like, or your,
Yeah,
you know, how
Yeah,
will it affect them if you fall and get hurt or what.
exactly.
That's how I had to look at it, and I hated it, but there you go.
Yeah, I couldn't deny it. You know, at lunch break, I'm sitting down all day. So yeah, I walked around the block on lunch break, and that, you know, that was just totally incomprehensible. I work downtown, and obviously there's cars on every side, so I couldn't argue that logic anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Does anybody have blackout seizures to where you just black out and wake up places you weren't at before?
Well, yeah, well, when I have a seizure, I always black out and wake up somewhere I
Yeah.
wasn't
yeah,
here
I go
before.
unconscious all the time.
Well,
So
I mean, like mine, like I walked into
Okay.
people's
Well, I
houses.
gotta go. It was good to
Okay.
see you guys.
Yes,
Nice to
Reese.
see you
But
too.
you
Thank you so
later,
much for
Reese.
coming today. You're inspiration to
Bye.
everybody.
That's right.
bye,
Oh,
Reed.
thank you.
Take
See you
care of
guys
yourself.
Friday.
Bye.
And
See you
don't
then.
worry about the
Good.
forgetful thingness because I was definitely there less than a year ago.
Well, thank you.
All right, we all look up to you, girl. We'll talk to you soon.
That's right.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you Friday, I hope.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
So by blackout, obviously that's like we don't remember kind of before or during, but even during your bad ones, you can see what's going on.
No, what I mean blackout is like, for instance, I was going to the store and there's a rehab on the same street. It's in between the store and in between where I was living. I don't know if I was on the way there or on the way back when this happened, but when I came to, well, I wasn't even came to. When I was there, I was telling people they need to get out, get the F out. This is my house. And you need to leave now.
Yeah.
So when I'm coming to, luckily there was some guy that seen me have a seizure, I guess, down the street. He seen the ambulance so many times, so he knew where I was coming from and went and got my
Yeah.
peoples. But yeah, I've walked in. That was the first time I've walked into 2 houses, and yeah, it ain't cool. I could have been
Yeah,
killed.
I don't think I have something like that, but
I don't think when I'm coming to, I could have unlocked the door. Like they made sure to always lock the deadbolt and the bottom lock because we were on the top floor for a while in the apartments, and I know if I had kind of wandered out, I'm shuffling unsteady. I get the impression that it does that I don't look right for at least 10-15 minutes after I'm
yeah,
conscious after a bad one. So I don't think I would have been able to even get out if that's even where I was kind of wandering to. But there have been ones in public when I know I shouldn't have wandered away and I did.
Yeah,
yeah, same.
there was another one.
I have hit concrete. I have hit the sewer covers.
Right.
I blacked out going
I,
over the Golden Gate
I
Bridge with my
even think I
husband.
should donate my
What?
mind for CTE.
Ooh.
We were,
Yeah, the ones in the car have to be scary.
yeah, I was
Yeah,
in the passenger side, and he couldn't pull over because the Golden Gate Bridge doesn't have
Nope.
any way to pull over. It's just
Nope.
2 lanes going each way, and he couldn't give me my medicine or
You look
anything. And
beautiful.
it was our wedding anniversary. We went into the city to go out, and it was really nice and sweet, and it was just awful because I had no warning. Like I usually do get some kind of or something. I felt so bad when I came to. I'm like, I did what? I ruined our date. No. That was yeah. That was
Yeah,
really
you can't avoid the guilt. And I know there's always guilt,
oh
especially
man,
after knowing that I ruined somebody else's event or I don't even want to say this because my daughter's in the room now, but she's told me the story so many times of Sophia, a little girl in 3rd grade whose birthday party we went to at the skating rink. And they were doing
But
their
she
thing, opening the
reacted.
presents. And of course, I go down and the crowd gathers. And I'm sure it was way too much of a scene for all those other kids to forget. And that's
You should
that's
be
the
proud
one that
of
I
like
remember the most. And I know I felt so guilty. I reached out and like wanted to give her an extra gift or something.
yeah.
I don't
you
know.
should be proud of
I'm
her
sorry.
because the way she reacted. Like when I read that story, it's like she reacted knowing like, oh, she's having one and she knew what to do. Hmm.
Wow. Okay. So another little anecdote. Daughter actually found some joy in one where it was at a pool party and I had to leave. So she got to stay longer than everybody else. I guess
Oh,
she trusted Cosette's mom.
nice.
Okay. All right. Well, props for finding the joy in that one. Proud of
Yeah,
you, girl.
good.
that's
Of
like the
course, I didn't
stories
know
that you
about
don't
that until just
remember.
now.
Yeah, that's the ones you don't remember.
Those are the stories you
Seriously.
don't remember, and then someone else tell you about.
Oh, I
Someone
love
just
it.
told me something a few days ago. He told me, "You don't remember this, but I guess I got in a disagreement with someone inside of Target, and he just decided, come on, we're gonna leave." And I
Okay.
guess as soon as we got outside the door, I started like just peeing, just like right there.
Wow.
Yeah,
He said he didn't
me,
understand what was going on at first, but then people started like screaming and stuff, and then he was like, "Okay, you guys, he's having a seizure."
Right.
Okay.
They didn't really get it, but he was like, "Yeah, he's having a seizure, you guys. He's not himself."
Hmm.
I don't think they understood because I wasn't shaking. I was just standing there peeing like a regular person.
yeah, the
Yeah.
accent.
Right. The absence.
That's part of what makes me so grateful for coming back to family, because when we were in DC for a couple, first couple of years after daughter was born, I he was off at work and still just couldn't even tell me what was going on, what happened. The roommate that we were staying with just kept telling him something's wrong with her. So he didn't even know what was going on. We didn't have a camera back then, so having like a solid support system that's actually competent enough to know what's happening it saved my life, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And thank
for
you,
sure.
Kookie, because I went looking for all the stuff and I found the old ones where I was first in a children's hospital,
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
and they actually diagnosed me with partial complex epilepsy. And I'm like, I didn't even think about that when my current neurologist has me like they're under general epilepsy, but he also said maybe juvenile absence epilepsy. So it's like, wow.
I feel like they get
But I
a
had
lot
to
of
like read all these
misdiagnosis. Like
things.
everyone gets other things, and then they find out, oh, there's epilepsy too.
Yeah.
That sounds like
Yeah.
what you just said. Like they just figured out so much other stuff was going on down the line.
Yeah, and I googled like complex partial, and it's like focal impaired something focal. It's
Impaired
Impaired
basically
awareness
like
or
awareness,
something.
focal impaired awareness seizures.
Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah.
thinking.
Yeah, if you're lucky. I don't always go unaware. I hate those. I can
I'm
go
always unaware.
still be, I hate those. But yeah, sometimes I wonder too, it's like you go from one diagnosis to another, and it's like every doctor seems to have a different opinion.
Yeah,
I don't know,
Mhm.
But
yeah.
trying
I
to
even
find
found
a
the
reliable doctor just felt too exhausting, like it was making that was making it worse. So I just have to, pick the one that seems the most competent, that's close enough to not break the budget, and you know,
Yeah.
I can't think of any other way to say it, but like fight it out to find the truth.
Yeah,
Like you said, you always have to speak up for yourself, and it's just annoying, to say the least.
Yep.
right,
it,
right.
it, it's
After
hard for
going
me to
through all of that,
remember.
getting a diagnosis and having them say, "Oh no, that's not real." Yeah,
It's hard for me to remember to 1997, but
right.
um
I bet.
I'm reading one of the EEG reports over the weekend, and it like the EEG report came back normal, but they were astonished, like what did happen at that EEG, that they were astonished. Like, did I have a seizure or something? And they didn't catch it on the EEG or what? It's like,
Or were they surprised it was normal?
yeah, they were really surprised. Like they wrote it on there.
Huh?
When I was first diagnosed, I felt like nobody really paid attention. It was just like I had a seizure inside of my web design class, so they thought it was because of the computers. But then they were like, "We're gonna let you go back." I went to the web design class the next time. I had another seizure, so they thought it was photosensitive. They did not do the test, so they gave me Dilantin and just said you have epilepsy. They didn't do the blinking test or any of that until a few years
Ooh,
ago.
What?
Wow.
I've been
So
through
I
those
just
tests.
went about having epilepsy. Basically, they're just like you have epilepsy, and they gave me pills, and there was never
And that was it.
any, The last
Do you have-
photosensitive seizure, like the thing they did with the lights, with the strobe lights,
The
they told me to do it with my eyes
blinking.
closed, and then they did it with my eyes open. Yeah, just went from flashing
No
slow
sleep
to
studies,
flashing
none
fast and
of
all that.
that.
Nothing happened, so I'm not photosensitive, but
Mhm.
like they never did any of that. They just took me out of web design class, drop a class, and
Just drop a class.
drop
That's
a class, take these pills, and yeah,
Wow.
that's it.
Yeah.
Talk
Forget
about a horror
these drugs.
story.
Yeah.
Hey, Rick.
Hey Rick,
Hey,
Hey.
hey everybody. How you doing?
all
Hey,
right?
pretty good. How about you?
Doing all right. Tired, but doing all right.
You haven't had
Yeah.
any seizures since we last met, have you?
I don't think so. I've been like super tired and like wiped of energy where
That's
like all
been
of a sudden
me.
my muscles just stopped working. So I'm not 100%. I'm gonna see my neurologist on Friday.
I talked to my neurologist last night, and we got an appointment coming up on June the 5th. So that's the earliest I could get.
yeah.
It's
I had
crazy how
one
long we
for
have to wait.
evening.
Yeah. I hate those long wait ones, the ones where like 3 and 4 months away.
Well,
hmm
my doctor never likes to go more than 2 months, but the hospital, UCSF, they'll call or they'll just send me a message on the My Chart and be like, oh, 5 months from now, here's the only appointment. And then if I can either accept it or I can call and act like a jerk and say the
hmm
doctor
Yeah.
said this, look at my record, blah blah blah. But it's almost too stressful so this last time, I usually do that. I go through the nonsense. This last time I said, you know what? We're in the middle of moving. I am not going to do this. We're just
Right.
going to let it
Yeah.
be 6 months, even though that's way too long and it's 3 times as long as he said. So whatever. I'll see him in June.
Yeah, I think they need me to come in because my last 2 were telehealth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
I almost always have the telehealth, unless I want to drive all the way to San Francisco and go across the bridge again, which
Ooh.
is now a nervous thing. I don't want to go across the
Yeah,
Golden
that's probably
Gate.
got some implications at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, my last 2 were telehealth too.
Mhm.
yeah.
I think I need to
There's
go in.
so much stress
Yeah,
relieving the
if they didn't have to
telehealth.
do like tweaks on the thing up here, then mine would all be telehealth.
Yeah.
And who knows,
But they
Bluetooth is advanced, so before long they'll probably be able to reprogram this thing from a distance, and then I'll go back to telehealth.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
then
Go
You
do the
have to
same
have
they
your
need
thing
questions and
scanned every
personally,
time, though. You
like
can't do the
advise and
telehealth
stuff.
every time. Gosh.
Okay, so I got
no,
something
what
that
I'm
says
saying,
I
they're
don't know
making
what to do.
advancements. Like I'm sure as of right now they could look at the data,
Yeah. Well, that would be great.
but they're saying like, yeah, I mean, if they can finally give me a device with Wi-Fi to make the data transfers, I'm wondering why they can't, actually analyze that and make adjustments,
Yeah.
I'm scared of
that just make more
AI
sense. I don't know.
technology.
It's just never.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just have my suspicions that there's already more potential out there for treating us better, but it's not being allotted because maybe it's not enough of a profit yet.
Yeah.
I just set up
I'm
my
still
box.
There's probably
looking
a
forward to like
cure,
brewing my
and
own
they're like,
chamomile and trying that
nah,
kind of
we can
Isn't
thing.
it
make money
lovely?
off of this.
Very well organized.
I have to, or I'll do exactly what Anne said she was doing, that taking extra Klonopin, thinking I haven't taken it.
Oh my gosh,
Oh.
that was horrifying.
Yeah,
Oh,
right?
God.
So, yeah, my husband's really serious about me going off the Klonopin. So,
I think I took my Thursday morning pills last night, and I'm like, did I take my pills? And I'm
oh,
looking at
yeah.
Monday night
Worst.
pills, and they're still in there. And I'm like, uh,
Mm-hmm.
let me just take it
Mm-hmm.
Anybody
because
else
I
use the
get
medications app on
Klonopin
the
at
phone?
night.
Say
Huh?
that again?
Anybody else use that app on the phone, the medications one?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
The
use
health one? Yeah, I
Epsy.
use that.
Yeah.
I just started
I
using it
use
on,
that
on the
too.
iPhone.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. I guess it's
It can
reliable when I
do
have my phone around.
Yeah.
it can do everything. The only thing I can't do is record myself because I don't know when I'm having a seizure.
Yeah,
And I don't
Right.
know
Right.
when I get auras.
Right.
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that
Oh.
seizure diary website for recording the actual events, but the medication one still does. I mean, the app on the phone, the health app on the phone, does still help for reminders on the medicine.
Yeah.
Because
All
even
right.
after the fact, I can still mark it down if I know I took it, but I just forgot to check it off or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And then,
forgot to check it off, and I'm like, my Monday night still says there, but I'm looking now. It's like my Thursday mornings are gone.
Yeah. Oh. I
I
mean,
That's
it's
killed
got to
not.
be
I've done that
confusing.
before, where I've switched. I've messed up a day, or then
Yeah.
because the Epidiolex, then you take your pills, and then you have to go load a syringe of liquid and take that too. So a lot
Oh,
of times I'll end up. It'll be like an hour before I realize I haven't done that. But luckily, it leaves a very distinct taste in your mouth, so I can't
oh,
Yeah.
possibly.
wow. That's something you can't miss.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's that.
the
Because
epidemic.
I think they made it originally for children, so it's very sweet.
Oh yeah. Yep, they did.
I
Yep,
thought it
and
was
it just kind of
curious how
sits
so
in my
many of
mouth. So
these medications it sounds like that are now for epilepsy were originally like made for something else.
yeah, well, it was made for epilepsy for children who had epilepsy, like clusters or
Oh, okay.
status, or like really serious epilepsy where the
Right.
medications were just not working. Like it says, I have refractory non-lesional focal epilepsy from my left posterior temporal lobe.
Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
online.
Um, yeah, that's basically what it
Let
is.
me see.
Oh, look at that. I do have a list of everything I've ever been on. Looky.
Mm,
Failed, lacosamide, lamictal, oxcarbazepine, CE.
Mine says left anterior quadrant epileptiform activity.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's complex because it starts there, but then it jumps everywhere else.
Right. That's it says then
yeah.
it goes propagation to right temporal. Yep.
Yeah.
It goes all over the place. That's just they just figured out where it came from there, but it was a long time before they figured out why it was happening.
Yeah, I still don't know why. Like, it's not hereditary or
Yeah. Mine was an injury.
Yeah. Does it
I
with
didn't have an injury. It's just I went down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like it was like the fourth or fifth specialist that looked at my scans that finally found, like they knew where it was coming from exactly, but they still couldn't see it. It had to be somebody who was very specialized to see it. But it was it goes in, and my brain goes in there, and it never grew, and that's where it's throwing out all this crud from. And it was like I was less than 6 weeks old when it happened, so took a long time to come on, but yeah.
Hey,
Welcome
Jeff.
back, Jeff.
I'm sorry, what's that?
Thank you. Had a nice nap.
Oh, good. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi.
So I got something that says, I don't know what to do. I've always got sore muscles and headaches after seizures, which I accept because my brain and body went into full rave mode. But there's two things that really bother me. One is that my body temperature shift. Like if I put on a blanket, it is way too hot and sweaty. When I remove the blanket, I freeze like if I was in the period of ice age. And another thing that bothers me is my eyes. Like after I had one, my eyes felt so tense, like really tense, and I struggled to fall asleep because they hurt so much. And another thing I want to point out is that I don't feel relaxed after I had one. Like after my epilepsy brain had tantrums, my body relaxes. I kind of feel my body is relaxed, but I don't feel fully relaxed. I don't know why, but it kind of annoys me since it doesn't really feel that I'm not relaxed. Like I feel that my muscles is relaxed, but I'm not relaxed. Does anybody have the same symptoms that I do?
Yeah. Sometimes my
Sounds
brain
like
goes
an
really fast.
overnight. Like you might have. Sounds like they might have had an overnight seizure.
Yeah, that's how I am with nocturnal seizures, especially.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and literally I have to let my body come out of this tensive, like every muscle is tense. My hands will be curled in, you know, and I don't necessarily have to have my mouth all chewed up, and I usually know I had some level of a seizure when I was sleeping.
Yeah.
But that
My face will hurt. The muscles in my face hurt like heck, and I'm like, why is this happening? This isn't right. Why?
Yeah, whenever somebody's not around and it happens, that's the only way I can tell the difference between a focal and a you know, tonic-clonic is like it feels like my eyelids are muscles and there's even my eyelids
You're
hurt.
so weak.
or like they turned inside out. I've had that feeling, or it felt like
Yes.
kids were inside out, you know, and it's like I just need a washcloth on my eyes because it just, yeah, that is a weird feeling.
Yeah. And then any bites on the inside, I have so many little like I don't even know how to describe it, but it just feels like little things sticking out. It's like pimples inside of my mouth.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
I have that.
And then the
my nose
temperature
to it.
thing, definitely, like your temperature is thrown off.
Oh
I
yeah.
had that.
Yeah,
From
either too
chills
cold
to
or too hot and can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
my fingers.
Saturday, I woke up and it was freezing, and I'm like, I don't even have the air conditioner or the window open.
Mm,
Yeah.
I've
I
cut.
don't know if I had an overnight though.
Oh yeah.
It
No,
didn't feel like that.